What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Add, Edit, and Delete, where Mark, Cody, and I discuss different happenings within our businesses, things we're seeing outside in the macro environment. And we're really here to just try and help other business owners learn from our experience. And we bring in business owners as guests so that we can learn from their experience and try and share that. Uh, we have Cody on Zoom. Can we get him? We have Cody not able to join us in person in Vegas based on a recent addition to his family. So, congratulations, Robert, on the birth of your first son, second kid.
Yep.
Nice.
Very new. Tell us how it's going.
It's going, really good, I guess. I mean,
Are you happy? Were you glowing?
Are you
uh,
sleeping?
I, not as much as I did on the first one, that's for sure. Just because, we have the 2-year-old is, I had to break it down. The first one was tough because it's a lot of unknowns, and you're learning new stuff left and right. It's a lot of stuff that's you can't read in a book, and you're learning. The second one comes along and you've already been there, done that, but now you have a 2-year-old that also is needing a lot of attention and eyes on, and so it's same difficulty, but different. I would say.
Yeah, I remember I said, just wait, 1 + 1 does not equal 2, it equals 3. There's a big
Yeah.
difference. And, we're now at an experience where all three of us have had additions to our families while we've been in business together. My daughter, I have two older sons. My daughter is now 3. Mark, how old is Leah?
Leah is 9 months today.
So another new baby, and is has Banks hit a month yet?
No, 2.5 weeks.
Two and a half.
Wow.
See, Robert looks
Little
pretty good
baby
for.
Bambino there.
Doesn't he look pretty good for
Just
two and a
had
half
100
weeks?
miles.
2.5 weeks. I thought this would actually be a good conversation for listeners to get an idea a little bit about us too, around how we've all talked about it, not on camera, on mic or whatever, about family being a huge driver for us in our ambition. Uh, and how the additions of, these new beautiful people in our lives that create a lot more work. They create a new time management piece for us. But at the same time, it also adds for me, and I think we've talked about it enough, where it it adds fuel to your fire, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
in a way that you're more tired and you want to do more, right? Which is a fascinating phenomenon that happens with the expansions of families. And um, when I think about that, I was just on family vacation. We were walking around New York City, and my 14-year-old son was turning to me, being like, "Dad, so I'm thinking about getting a new business together, and I wanted to spend some time with you figuring that out." Right? That was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, all right. And then my problem was I hit him like one of us with an idea, right? With a bunch of questions. He's 14 years old. He doesn't. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to see if you and I could build something like that together, right?
And just to be able to do that with your son, that's great right there.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, I'm
Where did
pushing
you,
a stroller with a 3-year-old, right?
Yeah.
where does that come from? Like when you were a kid, your dad was a teacher. He wasn't an entrepreneur. Were you were you the same way as a kid? Hey, Dad, how do I get a business started, or how do I become a teacher? And how does that come about for a 14-year-old?
I am a believer. Like there's nature and nurture, right? This is nurture, right? He has seen me come out of a corporate environment with 15 years in that experience and really have a lot of success. But he's also seen very much firsthand the impact to my schedule. He's also seen uh, a difference in our lifestyle. Uh, you know, we stayed at the Ritz on Central Park in Manhattan, right? That we weren't at the Holiday Inn just outside the city coming in. And one thing that I do see out of my 14-year-old son is that hunger for cash, right? I know that that is something that I was just always curious how people got wealth,
Yeah.
right? And how they accumulated wealth. And my path to that was it just has to be business before I knew what business was. And what business is delivering something of value at a profitable margin. And even that simple concept I didn't understand. What he is exposed to is being in the car with me and taking calls on speaker, whether it's with one of you guys sometimes or someone else where I'm like, hey, quiet, but you can listen. Um, and I think it must sound interesting to a certain degree, but at the same time, I think there's something in him that I don't see in my second son where he believes that money is going to create a lot of freedom for him. To the point where he's going to be bussing tables this summer at 14 years old, and he's already coming to me with math for how much he's going to make this summer and what he can do with that accumulated
Extra
paycheck
money, yeah.
at the end of X time frame, Y time frame, Z time frame. And my wife and I, uh, they don't my kids do not need to understand where our finances are, uh, but I think it just comes from there being freedom where his birthday's next week. What are you looking for, right? What's on your list?
Right.
And he can be aggressive. He knows he's going to get knocked down, so now I'm teaching him negotiation by accident, right, on that one. But I think it's a good question. I think it's something that uh, for him is maybe more in his own drive towards status. He goes to a private school. There's people that have wealth there. There's kids that are given a lot more than he is given, even though we may have the same opportunity. My son has to work for every dollar. Both of my kids, like when they get money from grandparents and cards or whatever, and then they want to buy V-Bucks or whatever the video game cash is.
Yep.
I know you got money. You want it. Go up into your locker and
Yeah.
give me the $20. Like, really? Yeah. And I put that right in my wallet. No qualms about it, right? So
Yeah.
they're understanding the value
value of
of
a dollar.
money comes in and it goes out very easily.
Yep.
What business was he wanting to start up? What
He
industry?
actually, remember I had that better to be positive handle? He wanted to do something around uh, like an aspirational meme page.
Nice.
So how do you spread positivity through content in social media? And I think it's a neat idea.
great.
Uh, and I think it's one where he can build some valuable skills, right? Understanding these platforms, understanding how to distribute content through these platforms, understanding the difference between a YouTube, a TikTok, an IG,
Yeah,
Snap. These
that's a
kids
lot.
are all on Snap, right? Which is a little scary as a parent because I don't know what's happened the second it's over. But um, that I have to prioritize that time for him to, and I'll learn, right? I don't get into the weeds of those platforms as much. We generally hire people for their expertise there, but this is an opportunity for him to develop a skill and monetize that skill directly for himself versus getting a job and monetizing it for someone else.
So I have a question, and I'll start with Mark. What would you say to yourself at 14 Like, what are the characteristics or
Oh my
core
gosh,
values
poor
that you
me
would
at
tell yourself
14.
to focus
Oh
on it?
God.
I got a 14-year-old to be for a future entrepreneur. What would you tell yourself if you could go back to where you're at now on what would be the best as far as focusing on or working at or building towards?
Honestly, I think just learning from uh, the the different people that you're gonna encounter. So you're gonna encounter so many different individuals. At 14, I was knocking on doors selling subscriptions. People, and you know, the guy that would drive us, his name was Dean. I remember him, Dean Cerny. He played bass guitar. He was a Dodger fan. We would play you know, play the game, and just he taught me about just the basics about going out and working and maybe a sale or whatnot, and and then later on, just different individuals. I think you want to take the good stuff from people, and obviously and learn that stuff and apply it to whatever you're doing. That's what I think I would tell myself. Maybe take some more notes, listen more, because some of those lessons you're gonna have to go through. You might not want, if you would have listened, maybe you don't. Uh, you don't bump your head a couple of times there, and I get through it a little easier or whatnot. But something like that, I would say, try to listen, learn from everybody. Those individuals that cross your path. Don't just take it for granted. Things like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people in your life and in everybody's life that you can just
Well, you learned
There's a
direct, right, Cody? Like, how old were you when you started the lawn mowing business?
Yeah, so my dad was uh, a W-2 worker. My mom was a entrepreneur at a young age, a photographer that went into stay-at-home mom. That we had a farm too, so that in itself is entrepreneur.
yeah.
Almost every family is a business owner or some sort of
It,
scalable 1099 subcontractor, whatever it may be, from construction to financial services, whatever it is. A lot of everyone in my family is 1099. So from a young age, that just was normal to me, right? Like you have to go out and make your own money. It wasn't this money is going to come to you each month at a set amount. And I learned that at a young age.
no allowance for Cody.
No, no, we didn't. No.
Well, think about also you grew up in a really rural area, right? Like,
Yeah,
what was the nearest metropolitan area to you? Seattle or Portland?
Spokane.
And that's a
Portland was
small.
probably 4 hours, and Spokane,
Couple
in
hours, 2-3 hours.
3 hours. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
And you were LA, and I was Boston. Like, that's, I mean, when you grow up around Boston, and I did this for a while, like or Manhattan. I was just in Manhattan this weekend. There are people from, 50 miles away taking these commuter trains into these metropolitan hubs, working for someone else at the hundreds of thousands of jobs, and I called it like I would get off at South Station in Boston, and it was like ants marching into the skyscrapers, and then between 5 and 6, all these ants come right
Oh
back
wow.
into their seat on the train and go back into their families. So that was the model. Was you go in and you try and climb a corporate ladder. That was the path that was clear to me, and that's the path I took. Starting your own business, where I would spend time on the Cape, they were small solopreneur. They were landscape businesses, restaurants, and things. But the thing about Cape Cod that I saw was seasonality,
Do you
right?
think?
It didn't
But
seem sustainable to me.
do you think maybe also you're a little bit? You're not that much older than me, but I know. Let's say your father or my father. You know, there's maybe there's a certain way. It's like they wanted back in those days. It was you wanted that corporate job, you wanted that 20-year, retirement plan. Nowadays, do you want that? Do individuals want that coming out of college, Robert? Like, I don't think that so, right?
Yeah, it depends on
Like,
what
go
college.
back to like, okay, you graduated in, I don't know, mid 70s. I don't know. Or I'm just saying it's so much different.
It
The
is.
It
the
is
the
different.
mindset of individuals.
The
Uh,
mindset uh, on geographic location as well, right? Like I didn't see people going in and out and punching in and out, right? I lived on a farm, and then the workers were up before the sun was up, and you're home before the sun, after the sun's down. And when Mike and I started Tax Advantage and 39th and 8th Ave in New York, we were right above Port Authority, right by Times Square. And I would be in there before the buses came in, and you'd see this huge wave of people go to
yep.
work, and then 9 a.m. and then 5 p.m. comes around, and you see everybody take off, and I'd still be there as we were building that office from ground up. So that's, when it really hit me, like, oh, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody wants to.
And like to think back on it, when I was younger, I was always kind of embarrassed that I was out like pushing lawnmowers and stuff like that. Because other kids were, they're having summer fun. They're going to Hawaii. I was
Dude,
working full time
yeah.
in a caravan. There's all, I always thought like, I'm a little embarrassed. Like I'm out here picking weeds on the highway. I had no clue how much money I was, making. I'm making as much as some of these guys' parents at a young age. I had no clue. No one there to tell me like keep this up. You're doing great. It's all I knew. And I have a cousin right now who's wanting to go and work W-2 for the county. He's in high school, but he started a lawn mowing business just like I did from a young age, and he's making more than his parents, and he's wanting to quit this lawn mowing business
For a W-2.
for a W-2 job because it's cool. His buddies are doing it, and he like doesn't understand. Like he's built this business from a push mower to he's got a $4,000 Gravely lawnmower. Like it's
Wow.
top of the
Okay.
line. He's
Yeah.
mowing almost every lawn in the town. He's making money hand over fist, but it's not cool. And
Well,
his
he's
buddies
not
aren't.
happy. If he's not happy, then maybe that's something else. It's funny. I went to the DMV Friday, 4:30. The person I got's a young guy, 35 years old. He's like, "Oh my God, F my life. I'm 33. I'm single. I got no kids. I got to go to the bar." It's like, dude, so negative. Like, I don't know. That's that W-2 worker. He's like, I'm rethinking my life choices right now. I don't know. That could be your little cousin there, 10 years later or something.
Yeah, I try to get a hold of him, like try to help him to understand like what you're doing right now is so valuable to your future and your outlook and what you want
Or
to do, whether
or
it's go to college.
don't let it go. Maybe you put a manager in place and you manage that, or do something. Don't drop that
I
business,
know he's
please.
making crazy money and he's just gonna, yeah,
For a
it's the craziest.
W-2. Yeah, that's
Not cool. Not,
yeah.
it's not cool to be out there mowing lawns when your buddies are working W-2 jobs and you're making more than most people.
Well, there's another part of it too that I've been cluing into more. Part of my network, that took that corporate path. Once you get to be near 50, 55, you're definitely not done earning, especially as families are developing later in life, and corporate cost structures don't like these very heavy top end
Yep,
salaries.
payroll.
And so it's turning into reduction in forces based on the cost of that individual employee. And what my conversations have been around are understand the skills that have been developed in this environment and how you might be able to monetize those independently for yourself. But the other side of that coin, I don't know what your cousin thinks, is there's a whole, that part is cool. but there are so many headaches in getting to the cool, right? I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
See, like, there's one neck to choke is a famous saying, right? Like, and it's always you're the last one. I tell
Mike,
people,
where do you get all these sayings? Mike's got the best sayings. I'm telling you.
there's but like when I'm explaining my particular journey to people over coffee or they're exploring, like I'm thinking about going out on my own, I'm like, there's two views. There's the unicorn and rainbow view, which is once you figure out a profitable offering and that business is making money, that profit margin, I'm not paying anyone behind me. I'm not paying my SVP, my business unit manager, the board,
Right.
and like that whole chain of command that was above me. I'm not paying them. Like it is mine. But also, when this goes wrong, that goes wrong, this
That's
goes
you
wrong,
too.
that falls up the chain of the command to me as well. And there's no one for me to turn around and be like, can you do that? Now, I think that's why, for the three of us, the things that have worked, I much prefer being in a partnership than being on my own because of the diversity of responsibility, specialty, and bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Like
You can only do so much.
you can only do so much.
And
Robert,
there's only so many hours.
yeah. You
Healthy
can take
work-life
time when
balance.
Leah's born. You can take time when you have and you have trusted people that if something's on fire, we're gonna bother you. But in general, we'd prefer to let you be there to support the family, and you can uh, be of service in a better mindset when you're lined up with partners that have your back and have aligned interests on what the expectations are every single hour of every single day and the numbers that we're trying to make by the end of the week.
Yeah. A healthy work-life balance is so important, and it's something that I struggle with, and I know you struggle with too, Mike. Especially a few years back, it was super unhealthy for us as we were getting our feet underneath us, if you remember.
But yeah, my family remembers that. I mean, that when I talk about what did my son see, he saw me. He would have been 12. I had a newborn, and he saw me getting on a plane every other Monday morning at 6 a.m., flying to the West Coast, working all week, separated from my wife and the responsibilities of the three kids, flying home on a Thursday night red eye to walk in the house and be super dad as best I could for the next 3 days because I just missed the majority of the week out trying to establish myself and do right by the things that needed to be done. Honestly, there was an aggressive forecast of things that we wanted to accomplish, and we put those priorities. Hindsight's always 2020. I learned a lot. I learned fast. I got exposed to a lot of really interesting things. And I can't take that back. That's what I always look back at too. I made the best decision I could at the time with the information I
Absolutely.
had. And I made it in partnership with my wife. Are we sure? I mean, we joked about it, but it was every other Sunday night when I was packing again. I would look across to her and say, are we still cool with this?
Are
She
you
was like,
sure you're sure?
yeah. Are we still cool with this? And she's like, yes. And I'd be like, all right. And I'm going, But I think where we are now, to your point, Cody, is like, we're better at do as I say, not as I do. But like the do what we say is, no, that time's important, right? And we mean it. We do mean it. It's our own unhealthy. They talk about, I saw something, every successful entrepreneur has has some part of their brain that is very unhealthy. And that unhealthy,
Nobody's perfect either.
well, it's because they don't know how to stop. That unhealthy part of
The go.
go, go, go. And there's always going to be more. And, I think that's part of my personal journey is trying to figure out what what the right balance there is.
Yeah. Coming from, I think I told you, a family where I was raised by my mom. My dad was not there from, vast majority of my childhood. It just means so much for me to be there for my girls and make sure that, I'm there for their soccer games or taking them to practice and do those little things because, and just everybody knows time, you don't have, time's short. So you want to take advantage of that time that you have because these kids grow fast and before you know it, they're in college and they're forgetting about you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll just keep having them, right?
Yeah, they're asking
No.
you for the credit card.
That's not the answer. That's not the answer.
Just keep, woo.
Yeah. Well, Cody, I know you have a commitment here now at the top of the hour. I think this is a good wrap up of, some of the things that are important drivers for us, a little bit more about the hosts themselves on their personal journeys and how we struggle still every single day with prioritization and work-life balance. But at the same time, I think if I go back to where we started, I think that struggle is exactly how I outlined it at the beginning. We have expanding families and expanding business interests. As the businesses grow, there is the ability to delegate, but how do we figure that out? And when I have that answer, I'll be sure to report it on this podcast because I believe it is in the moment, make the best decision you can with the information you have and be sure of it, move on, don't regret it. But if you get better information, it's okay to adjust that decision. And I think that's how we navigate on a daily basis.
And edit, delete.
Add, edit, delete. So this is a quick episode. I appreciate everyone listening in today.
Good seeing you, Cody.
And feel free to reach out and DM us if you'd ever like to have a one-on-one conversation about growing your business. And thanks for listening.